We good, Nance? Perfect. Council ready to go. So it is 6 o'clock, so I will call this meeting to order. Mr. Clerk.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Be it resolved that this regular meeting now open at 6 p.m.
Do we have a mover? Are you ready? All in favor? Motion is carried. Sorry, I didn't say welcome to our November 25th, so I guess we're exactly a month away from Christmas. We're getting in that direction, so moving forward to any opening remarks from members of council. Seeing none. Item 3, the adoption of the agenda. Well, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Deputy Mayor Densham. Be it resolved that the agenda be approved as presented.
Any questions in regards or comments to the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Just for the record, I did talk to, not that we have a whole slew, but to make sure that whether it's staff or council, to clearly speak in the mic. So it sounds great in here, but online, some of them are saying the minute you turn and talk away from the mic, it takes away from the clarity on the Zoom. So moving to item 4, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Moving on to our public meeting. Mr. Clerk, so that's for, Stephanie and Laura. So we have a public meeting in regards to William Street. Do we want to read the motion and then to accept, because we're accepting the report, correct? Just an information? Okay, so I guess I will move to which one of you will be presenting. So do we have to open a zoning?
Through the chair, it would use the same opening procedures as the regular meeting of council.
Okay, so I guess we're good, because it used to be where we had kind of separated the two, but we are in line where we can just use the same opening. So I guess we can have Stephanie take it and Laura take it from here.
Perfect. Thank you. Good evening, council. So first off, I just want to introduce Laura Kreitz. She is the intermediate planner at the United Counties, and she'll be providing in-office service to North Stormont 1 to 2 days a week here in North Stormont. So this zoning amendment public meeting is in relation to application number Z 2025-08. The applicant is present this evening, Mr. Roy Mills, and the application falls on the property of 11 William Street in Finch. Is there someone?
Nancy, can you do?
There we go. So this meeting is being held pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act, and requests to be notified of the decision can be submitted to planning@northstormont.ca. So this meeting is a public forum for the public and council to gather information, ask questions, and voice any comments or concerns. So going through this process, an overview of the zoning amendment will be provided, and then an opportunity for comments and questions from the public and council will follow that, and an opportunity for the applicant to address any questions. So this bylaw will be brought to council at a later date. So you won't be seeing the report later this evening. The notice of public meeting was sent to all landowners within 120 meters of the subject property by Canada Post, and the property was also signed with this notice, and it was also posted on the township website. Additionally, the notice was also given by email to the prescribed list of agencies as defined in the Planning Act. And then as far as appeal rights, so there is a 20-day period of appeal that follows the decision. If a person or public body doesn't make an oral submission, if a person or public body would otherwise have an ability to appeal the decision of the Township of North Stormont to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but the person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of North Stormont before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. And if a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of North Stormont before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal, unless in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. So as you've been seeing, there's been a lot of bills that have been coming forth, and specifically Bill 185 removed appeal rights for most zoning amendments, and it's outlined that only public bodies and specified persons, so those are utility companies, aggregate operations, can appeal. So the subject property, as I was mentioning earlier, is at 11 William Street in Finch. So that's the property shown there, highlighted in red. It is currently designated in the county official plan as commercial district, and it will be updated to the residential district per the previous council approvals. And then the existing zoning of the property currently permits 4 dwelling units. The north side of the property is zoned residential second density, or R2, and then the south part of that property is zoned residential third density. And so this sort of is just a little bit of a history of the applications on this property. I always find it's helpful to know where we're coming from, where we're going to. So in 2023, consent applications were applied for to divide the existing parcel. And in 2023, again, a zoning bylaw amendment was made to rezone it, or was applied for to rezone from general commercial and residential first density to general commercial special exception 17, so CG 17, to construct a mini warehouse and public storage establishment. And so that zoning amendment during that public meeting portion, the comments were to rezone it for residential purposes. So, and then in 2024, the property was issued a minor variance to reduce the frontage from 18 meters to 6 meters and to reduce the rear yard setback from 6 meters to 4.23 meters. So as far as what is proposed, so residential fourth density, special exception, so R4 and the numbers to be decided in the coming weeks. And then the applicant is seeking to build 6 residential dwelling units and reduce the rear yard encroachment for covered steps from 3 meters to 2 meters. And then this is the layout of the property. So there is an existing garage at the north side of the property, and that's an application to construct and convert and add on to that accessory building and turn it into a residential sixplex. The building permit, however, right now has been issued for the 4 units that are currently approved already on the property. So if approved, if the zoning amendment is approved, plans will be updated to allow for 6 units. So as far as comments that the municipality has received to date, so South Nation Conservation Authority did identify that the property is located in the Finch Municipal Drinking Water Wellhead Protection Area, and Section 59 notice as of this afternoon will be issued shortly. And then as well, they also mentioned that applications under the Planning Act and Building Code are screened by the Raisin South Nation Risk Management Office to determine how policies may apply to the proposed development, and that the CA does not object to the application, but requests that the applicant obtains that clearance prior to the approval of the zoning bylaw amendment. And then as well, Enbridge Gas submitted an email just stating that they had no objections. And then as far as the public comments that we've received to date, there were 3 letters of opposition received as of November, as of today. 1 letter cited concerns with privacy and enjoyment of their property. and requests for a privacy fence to mitigate any potential privacy issues was asked for. It has been explained to me by the applicant that he has agreed to put up a fence, although that is not a requirement through this process. And then as well, 2 letters also were received that stated opposition to the rezoning with concerns of the lack of transparency in the approvals process, the intensification being out of character with the existing surrounding community, and the possible strain on existing municipal infrastructure, so roads, water and sewer, and then as well, potential increased stormwater runoff, increased traffic, parking, and safety concerns. And so I'll turn it back to you as the chair. Mayor Lange?
Thank you very much. So I'll take any questions from member of council. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Densham.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm just wondering whether or not you can walk me slowly again through the sketch of what it is, including kind of, it looks like there might be, the slender part would be the driveway, and then there's parking down. So can you just walk me through what's there, how that's going to transform?
Absolutely.
Again.
I'll just go to slide number 11 that says proposed building at the top. There we go. So the north building is the existing garage that was on the property prior to what's been constructed to date. Going south from that is the proposed addition to it. So that will be the footprint, no matter if it's 4 units or the applied for 6 units. And then your driveway will come from William Street heading west towards the building, and then there's parking there at the south edge of the property.
Okay, so the 6 units will be the new addition to the south of the north segment, or will all of it be together and it would be 6 units altogether?
6 units altogether.
Okay. 2 and 4, is that the idea, or do we know yet? 2 and 4, okay. Okay. Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted, thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor McDonald.
Try to speak into the microphone. Gotten away with it for 3 years, and now they're going to hear my voice. The history, the application history, I was just maybe missed something, but it says in 2023 it was rezoned to the general commercial for the mini warehouse, which I remember that happening. Was there then a rezoning to go back to residential, or was it permitted within that, or did I miss that step?
So through you, Mayor Landry. So the outcome of that application was that it was zoned to residential.
In the end of that application,
yes.
it didn't go to
It never
warehouse.
actually was zoned commercial.
Okay. And 4 units is currently permitted in the zone, and it's half R2 and half R3.
Yes.
And what does the R3 permit as of right?
Townhouses. so
Just
40
says
units.
townhouse, doesn't
Yeah.
say how many units
No.
or anything like that. Okay, so it's both to allow the 4 dwelling units and to reduce the rear yard to allow for covered steps.
So 6 units total, so increase in number of units from 4 to 6, and then there are provisions in the zoning bylaw as they relate to the permitted projections from the existing building, which is a covered porch.
Okay. And I know that there have been concerns raised by people in the past about ensuring that there's enough, municipal services. It's great to see the amount of development going on in our communities, driving around Chrysler, there's a lot. Finch is getting going the same way. So I understand that people are driving around and they're wanting to make sure that these things are being checked. So can you just confirm as part of the process when you do your planning review that you're looking at things like servicing capacity? Can you just maybe explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so there is an application process for servicing allocation, and that is part of the building permit approval process.
Okay, so we set out the allocations and our building official ensures that they're allocated appropriately and
As applied for.
we approve them, which I now remember us doing. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Go ahead, Councillor Bajelli.
Just a couple of comments on that, and I've obviously we've seen this property and all around it over the last few years. One of the concerns that did come back when we were originally looking at, was the character of the village and keeping consistent with the character of the village. And I know some changes were made to the developments at the time to ensure that it kind of fit in with the theme and the overall architecture style of the village. That would be my hope, this would be follow down the same path. And then the only other concern is just the parking spaces. And it was hard just to get a grasp of how many parking spaces would be allocated for the 6 units.
Through you, Mayor Landry. So I believe it's 9 parking spaces on the south side of the property, which is calculated to the minimum requirements in the zoning bylaw. And in terms of keeping with the character of the village, and a lot of these sort of smaller rural villages already have reduced setbacks. And that's something that when we look at, the character of the streetscapes and those sorts of things, it is fairly consistent with Finch, the minimums that were established well back when building permits weren't a thing.
Any further questions in regards to, with the 4, so I did have the opportunity to speak to the developer, and looking at 6, which is 1 level, so there's no stairs. So for accessibility reason, it's good. I think the need for 1 and 2 bedroom apartments is a plus. Another factor I look at, where I always emphasize, is with all the amount that's going on there, the congestion that you can get on William Street would be, and this is where I feel that removing yourself from William Street and having the parking in the back is something I think that's got great value. And I use Chrysler as a prime example. When you look at the 12 townhouses that were built in Paul Provost subdivision, they've got somewhat of a condo. It's a common element parking, which removes everything. It contains everything in-house, similar to what you see there. And that's the type of arrangement I like to see, versus people just start lining up along the street. Winter parking becomes an issue. So I think it meets the demand of our provincial partners wanting to build units, and so I see it as a positive. But again, it's with that, I guess I can take comments from members of the council, or is that just at the zoning meeting?
Members, questions of council or of the public?
Public for this. So I'm just surprised why, I'm not just used to not having where we do accept the report and take members of council. It's a little different than what I'm used to, how we did the arrangements for that. But so with that said, if there's no further question, I will look at the floor. If you have a question, you can state your name and address. And so I'm looking at Leanne there, so you're good. So with that said, I'm opposed. Yeah, so we will move on to there's no motion, so we'll move on to our next item on the agenda. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you.
So moving on to there's no delegation, so the adoption of minutes of our previous meetings.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Be it resolved that the following minutes be approved as presented. Special meeting, November 6th, 2025. Regular meeting, November 12th, 2025.
Thank you. Any questions in regards to our previous meetings? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion's carried. Moving on to adoption of the minutes of our committees and local boards, which I don't think we have any. Okay, so site plan approval for GFL Environmental.
Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Deputy Mayor Densham, that the Council of the Township of North Stormont accepts report admin 22-2025 from the CAO/clerk regarding the site plan approval, GFL Environmental Inc. That council provide first, second, and third reading to bylaw number 84/2025 to enter into a site plan agreement with the GFL Environmental Inc. respecting the development of an expansion to the Eastern Ontario Waste Handling Facility also known as Moose Creek Landfill.
Thank you. So I will get the CA will brief us on the subject. Is Mr. Hicks?
Yes, through the chair, I'll give council a quick brief, and then Paul Hicks is going to be added right now. I apologize, the deputy clerk did have to allow him to come in. The application, or the applicant requested a reduction in securities, and that's why this report is being tabled. Traditionally, we would have delegated authority to sign these site plan agreements, but because of the deviation from the traditional 50% securities, the CAO and administration felt it reasonable to come to council just to make sure that they were understanding what they were agreeing to potentially. So the negotiations settled on 30% securities, which is roughly $759,000 of the total works. Township staff are confident and satisfied that this amount is reasonable and provides us with the capacity to restore the location to its original condition. Essentially, it's earthworks that need to be moved, and there's very little risk with the project not being completed by the applicant. This was reviewed and scrutinized with great care by both the planners and our legal staff, and both the CAO and Public Works Superintendent, who is not in attendance tonight, are recommending the council approve the site plan and the security suggested. But again, traditionally, it's 50% of the work that is typically required. But an applicant can request, which GFL did in this case. Through the chair, the deputy clerk, are we able to have Paul Hicks on the call?
Through the chair, yes. We just need to activate it on the presentation. He should be there on the screen. We can see him on the video. I don't know if Paul would be able to unmute if we can hear him.
I think I am unmuted.
Yes, Paul, we can hear you. I gave council, just for your knowledge, I gave council a quick overview of the report. And if you'd like to provide your expertise from a planning perspective.
No, so certainly. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I guess as Craig had filled you in, this is before you this evening is an application for site plan approval from GFL Environmental for the Eastern Ontario Waste Handling Facility in Moose Creek. The application follows several years of planning approvals, including official plan and zoning bylaw amendments that were approved by Municipal Council in 2022, and the provincial environmental assessment approvals that were granted in 2024. Over the past year, Township, county staff, South Nation Conservation, Ministry of Transportation, and our friends in Prescott Russell have all been involved in the review of the application. A site plan agreement has now been finalized with Township Solicitor, and all the technical agencies are satisfied that the plans meet applicable requirements. I think as Craig, I caught at the end of Craig's introduction to this. A particular note with this application is a proposed reduction in securities for due performance. As is noted, standard practice in Ontario for collection of securities is to post securities worth 50% of the cost of on-site works. These securities are there to essentially ensure the township can secure the site, finalize and maintain any unfinished public works and roads, and stabilize and secure any unfinished buildings. In this case, the GFL expansion, with regards to the GFL expansion, the cost of posting the 50% securities would far outweigh the cost of securing the site in the rare case of GFL's default on their site plan obligations. And with that being the case, staff are recommending a reduction in securities in this particular case. So on that basis, as the application has been through technical review and sign off, and the site plan agreement has been successfully negotiated with the applicant, staff are recommending to council an approval of the site plan application and the execution of the agreement. Certainly happy, Mr. Mayor, to answer any questions that you or members of council may have.
Thank you. So maybe I'll start. So in regards to, because I did have a discussions with the team at GFL when this was being discussed. They also have ties where they got securities tied to the provincial government as well. Are you?
That's correct.
And so the aspect of the whole project is kind of linked between this and that. So as Craig mentioned, there's not really buildings involved. It's more about like moving earth. There's no roadway that should be other than La Flèche Road. So I think just to satisfy the curiosity and to be transparent, the 30% is where the discussion was had, correct?
Yes, that's correct. The standard procedure when we're looking at a reduction in securities is to typically ask the applicant's engineers to prepare a cost estimate. So we know exactly what the cost, the full cost of construction is. And then we can conduct an evaluation if it is appropriate in certain circumstances to reduce those securities. And given the nature of this proposed development, as you just mentioned, Mr. Mayor, just given the nature of it and given the significant approvals process that it's been through, we saw no additional reason or any reason to keep those full securities.
Any further questions? Seeing none, so all in favor? Motion's carried.
Through the chair, thank you very much, Mr. Hicks.
Thank you very much. Have a great night, everyone. Cheers.
Thanks, Paul. Moving on to human resources policy changes.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that the Council of the Township of North Stormont approve report admin 20-2025 from the CAO/clerk to approve changes to the human resources policy.
Thank you. So, Craig, I think maybe just identifying the aspect of what was left in and removed, maybe just clarify to council. So,
Certainly. Through the chair, the report was revised to reflect council's discussion on November 12th. And this was specific to items 14.9 and 14.8 regarding vacation time. So that item in the report was rescinded. All of the other aspects of the report remain unchanged. And the rationale for bringing that report forward originally on November 12th was to realign the performance reviews with the CPI date of January 1st. And we, of course, used it, as was discussed previously, to remove some housekeeping items that we had. It was just opportunistic to do so. So again, the items that were removed were specific to 14.8 and 14.9 regarding vacation allotment for retiring staff. And again, this can, as the report indicates, this can be reviewed by the 2026 council along with the new CAO that will be onboarded shortly.
any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Moving on to fees and charges bylaw update for 2026. Mr. Clerk.
Moved by Councillor Shane, seconded by Councillor Bajelli, that the Council of the Township of North Stormont receive and approve the 2026 fees and charges increases recommended by municipal staff.
And I think there's very minor changes. Do you want to add?
Through the chair, each department reviewed and scrutinized their specific fees and charges. The only department that felt it prudent to increase by 2%, which is under the expected CPI for 2026, was building services. And of course, with the increased development that we're seeing for fuel, for vehicle maintenance, and for the compensation for both the building, or the chief building official and the assistant, it was felt that the 2% would provide some relief and be revenue neutral, but was necessary.
Thank you. And I think with that, the reason for this is we're always trying to reach the cost recovery. So any development or moving forward, people want to advance, should be on them and not the municipality as a whole. So I think having the cost recovery and at a 2% increase, which is basically inflation, is in line with that. So any questions? Go ahead, Councillor McDonald.
Just wanted to add that I appreciate you highlighting in the report all the things that have not changed, because often it feels like when we assess things, it's like, oh, the assessment is everything needs to go up, but you've assessed it, you've found it to be sufficient, and in many cases are recommending that the fees remain the same. And I just think for folks who are having, financial challenges, as many of us are, it's just nice to see that they're being very reasonably increased and not increased where they don't need to. So thank you for that.
Any further questions?
Just a comment, actually, to kind of echo Councillor McDonald. Cost recovery is where it should be when it comes to user fees.
Yep.
I hear it in my daily job all the time. User fees are just another word for tax. So
Thank you. So any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Moving to our SDG Winter Maintenance Agreement Information Report.
Moved by Councillor Bajelli, seconded by Councillor Shane, that the Council of the Township of North Stormont receives report PW 20-2025 for the contract renewal with SDG counties as unchanged, subject to agreed upon amounts.
So I can maybe speak a little bit on that. So through myself and our CAO and Public Works, so we did have meetings with the county, our county counterparts. Basically, we're going to remain status quo. There was discussions on what we're trying to do is just maintain our residents, whether they're from our township, but also our county. We're trying to maintain where the best fit would be to serve our residents. For now, we're coming into the winter season. Time was not of the essence, so we had to move. We're going to maintain status quo. We're still going to be having discussion to see if there's any way improvements can be made. But for now, we feel confident that we've looked at the routes and we will be able to maintain and serve the winter maintenance agreement for the upcoming year. I believe this is a 5-year agreement that was signed, but there was discussion that we can have discussions at any time of this to see if there's any changes that could be made. So with that said, is there any discussions or questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Densham.
No questions, just a comment. Again, I think I just want to thank our Public Works Superintendent and the CAO and yourself for working with the counties and for the counties parties as well. Our relationship with the counties is an important relationship, so I'm glad that we were able to work this through. And like I say, the swapping of work is a good indicator of collaboration, and I just wanted to thank staff for making sure that we were able to work through the details to everybody's satisfaction and maintain that relationship. So thank you.
Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Moving on to 9.5, the Delegated Authority Bylaw.
Moved by Councillor Shane, seconded by Councillor Bajelli, that the Council of the Township of North Stormont receives this key information report, report number admin 24-2025, from the Deputy Clerk on Delegated Authority Bylaws for information purposes.
So this is standard. We just like to put it out there so you can see what has gone through. Is there any questions in regards to those two delegated signed authorities? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion's carried. So moving into our correspondence, course from 11.1 to 11.9. Mr. Clerk. Sorry, 0.8, sorry.
Moved by Councillor Bajelli, seconded by Councillor Shane. Be it resolved that the correspondence as listed as items 11.1 to 11.8 on the agenda be received.
Thank you. Any discussion? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Densham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And calling our attention to 11.7, there's actually two very important resolutions on there, but I want to speak specifically to the Conservation Authorities one, and if my colleagues wish to speak on the other one, that's fair as well. From my perspective, sitting as chair of South Nation Conservation Authority, this has been a big discussion in many meetings around the Bill 68 and the authority that the province is looking to take over the conservation authorities, and then the consolidation of conservation authorities from 36, I believe the number is, down to 5 regional territories. And the general consensus around the board table is concern from a couple of fields. Number one, that the conservation authorities and the municipalities weren't consulted. This is pretty much, it was pretty much coming out of the blue in terms of the rationalization of the conservation authorities. And this is a big move to take conservation authorities that were built by municipalities for municipalities over 75, almost 80 years, and then to basically take it over with little consultation, with little details of what's occurring in term and what little analysis on what the effect is going to be. I'm very, very concerned from a municipal perspective. Maybe we have it really, really good out here in the east with South Nation and Raisin region, but from my perspective, these conservation authorities have really grown to be very well interknit and intertwined with our municipalities and how we operate. And as a result, not only are they operating in a way that is very collaborative, but it's very, very efficient. Just for example, a bridge permit is one example. In our area, we would pay about $2,700 for a bridge permit activity being done by a CA. Across the province, you would see a price tag more of $6,700 for a bridge permit for similar work. Not only that, but the turnaround time of our permits are about 8 days, and that's calendar days, that's not business days. That's a very quick turnaround for permitting, in my opinion, and I don't think that we would see the same thing happening in other areas of the province, which may be part of the impetus for the province making a decision like this. So if everything is going to kind of average out a little bit, maybe optimize a bit, I think we're only going to be, as a municipality, on the losing side of this equation, in my opinion. As I said, a lot of the services of the Conservation Authority are locally tailored, specifically to our area. What happens in our own watershed has really very little to do with what happens in a watershed in the western side of Ontario and vice versa. So why standardization is necessary, I'm not really sure. Some of the other areas that kind of concern me are the reserves that have been built by the conservation authorities. Some have many, many millions of dollars of reserves, others have nothing. So when conservation authorities are amalgamated into regional, what's going to happen to the reserves? It could be that the reserves that were built in South Nation off of the backs of our local ratepayers could be utilized for things in other territories where reserves weren't properly built. So are we potentially going to be funding, are our ratepayers going to be funding some of the activities that are going to happen in other areas? What's going to happen to some of the assets that exist in our area? So for example, we have Chrysler Dam in our area. Some municipalities across the province, the CAs don't look after those assets, municipalities do. Whereas in our area, right now, it's South Nation that's responsible for the Chrysler Dam as an asset. Is that going to get downloaded onto us? Are we now going to have to pick up the bills for very expensive renovations that will eventually come for Chrysler Dam? Again, South Nation has been preparing through their reserves for the likelihood or for the event happening at some point in time. But none of these details have been shared with us. And it's really, really unnerving in terms of what this could mean, both to the level of service that we receive and the financial impact to the municipalities. The last thing I'll talk about, and then I'll stop, is a lot of, I would say, I think the estimate was about half of the land that is currently owned by the South Nation Conservation Authority was donated, or donated in part, by people who wanted their legacy, their land, to be looked after. I think of George Velema, who lived in North Stormont, was a recent land donor, for the stewardship of the land. He didn't give it to his kids, he didn't give it to the province, he gave it to South Nation because he trusted South Nation to, with his legacy, to look after the lands. What's going to happen to those lands? Again, the province is saying that the land ownership shouldn't change, but now it will come under a regional board of directors versus a local board of directors who have the authority to make decisions. And again, from a political standpoint, some of the appointments, or some of the board designations will be appointments. And the fact that North Stormont sits on the South Nation board, I see that as highly, highly unlikely to happen on a regional board that's going to span, most of Eastern Ontario. So our voice is going to be lessened, if at all existent. So from my perspective, we've already issued or I raised this at our county council with a motion. The motion is listed in there, and I would ask that this local council also, through a resolution, show support for this motion.
So do we do the motion or advance it now, or I'll take others?
At the direction of council, the administration can prepare a motion for December 16th that can be reviewed and voted on.
Now, there was a timeline that was requested from Conservation in regards to us sending in our, I don't believe it was early December, if I'm.
Yeah, so December 22nd is the deadline for that. I will tell you that conservation authorities, including South Nation, have already released a statement that has some material in it, and they are very happy to speak with any municipalities who need more information in order to formulate their feedback on this legislation.
Okay, so if I think it's clear from this council, we will get the resolution, the motion written up and have it for the December, is it 15th or 16th? 16th?
16.
Okay. Perfect. So go ahead, Councillor Bajelli.
Just a couple of comments, actually, with respect to the correspondence. So I definitely hear a lot of the concerns and share the concerns that Deputy Mayor Densham is sharing, but I do think it is very important that that there is proper consultation done with the Ministry of Environment, Parks and Conservation when it comes to that. There is a lot of unknowns at this point. They have and are working with the newly appointed the primary conservation point person to formulate what this is going to look like. So I would just be cautious of coming out too much on the offensive when we do not have the information as of yet. And a lot of that will be through that consultation process. They are, and the concerns from Northern Ontario, from Southwestern Ontario are going to be very different than what we would have here in Eastern Ontario in our region. I understand trying to whittle a provincial-wide standardization can be difficult, and it will be, I would assume this is going to be kind of a living process over the next few months as they do move forward. But the overarching goals of illumination of work and getting conservation authorities back to their main mandate of the protection of watersheds and that, I understand their perspective, where they're coming from, and I would just urge when we are formulating a motion that is going to come to us, as opposed to strictly speaking with the CAs, that there is also outreach done by staff to the ministry to potentially get their side of where, or their reasoning as to where we're at right now. The second item, just quickly, I just wanted to highlight on a way more positive note, as 11.2, was just the note from the Cashman Chrysler, St. Albert, Banque Alimentaire, the food bank, just the time of year. I'd just like to remind everybody, if anybody is watching, not just that food bank, but we have many food banks across our region that are looking for support as we move into the winter months and families are struggling. So if anybody has the opportunity to give and to help out or to give their time, I would strongly encourage them to do so.
And then go ahead, Councillor McDonald.
I think just going back to the Conservation Authority's resolution from the county and the comments about engaging with the ministry, just to raise that I believe Carmel Williams, as the local Roma rep, is planning to raise the issue at the December board meeting for Roma. So there'll be more, and hopefully at that time there'll be more engagement, like Councillor Bajelli is saying, to get more information. And I think also the counties have put in a Roma delegation request just to raise that as well, some other engagement that's going on. And I have heard that there may be regional roundtable meetings, and I don't know if those are going to be prior to the 22nd or after, but I would also support, taking this to the next meeting, and I'm hopeful that between now and then, there may be more discussions, as you said, evolving, and I feel that it would be wise to see how that goes in the next couple of weeks before it gives us a good amount of time to see what information comes out. So just to support that and say there are some reach outs happening to the ministry to have these kind of direct conversations. Thanks.
Thank you. So, and on a final note, so back to item 11.2. So as Councillor Bajelli mentioned, with regards to the food bank, we advocate, we are looking for people to make sure they support. The people do need, a lot of people out there do need the support. We have to be careful. So I think this is coming in somewhat of a request also for us to, so in regards to making a donation, the taxpayers are, many of them are engaged in helping the food bank, supporting the food bank with for us to turn around and make donations. There is people that, because again, it's tied to the tax base, so it just makes it difficult for us to play the catch-22. So it's not that we don't see the need. Where the need is to let the people know to please, if you can, help out your local food bank, because it is, especially at this time of year, and at the same time, we again will help out at Holiday Train, I believe, is coming in on Friday. They do donate now. I think they're specific to, I'm not sure if it's split, so I'm not sure where that, but I think through the events of which I will be mentioning coming up with our Christmas parades, many areas where they do have the request for people to bring in their food donations. So let's all speak on their behalf and spread the word. So with that said, we have any other further discussions in regard to our correspondence? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, and motion is carried. So there's no unfinished business. We're moving to item 15. Our next regular meeting will be held on Tuesday, December 16th, again at 6 o'clock. In regards to coming events, I won't go through. I believe that the administration put a link on our both Facebook page and our webpage. There's a link that I think details all the Christmas happenings throughout the township. So if you want to go and have a look at that link, it will speak on all our parades. We've got porch tours, we've got tree lighting, so a lot of festive time, and hopefully the weather will cooperate for those events. Moving to any closing remarks from members of council. And seeing none, going into ratification confirming bylaw.
Moved by Councillor Shane, seconded by Councillor Bajelli. Be it resolved that bylaw number 87-2025, being a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify council's actions at its regular meeting of November 25th, 2025, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 25th day of November 2025.
Thank you. Any or all in favor? Motion is carried. And moving to adjournment.
Moved by Councillor Bajelli, seconded by Councillor Shane. Be it resolved that this regular meeting adjourn at 6:48 p.m.
Thank you. And all in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, Council Leanne, for joining us this evening, and for everyone to have a good night. Thank you.